Hello everybody and welcome to my Magicka DK build for the Summerset patch. So this will be my second build. I was going to release this a couple of days ago, but made some changes recently that have made this out and beyond all expectations. So this build has decent damage, nothing insane, but definitely enough to kill. So we just dueled a pretty reasonable Stamsork. Better than pretty reasonable, very good Stamsork I should say, with 30k resists, and we can kill him. So it's fine. I think that it's got enough kill potential against pretty much anything. Now let's move on to the next thing, which is survivability. Oh boy, has it got that. This build is pretty much immortal in 1v1. I strongly believe that. There have been duelist Stamblades, duelist Stamsorks running like bleeds, massive defiles. Even then we're healing straight through. I didn't lose a single fight, and then I realised I didn't even have heavy armor passives in. So with heavy armor passives in as well, the healing in this build, the survivability of this build is just gigantic. It really, really is. And again, we've still got enough damage there. Now, there are a few tweaks that I'll talk about that are very, very viable options for open world and just for general gameplay, for preference and all that. I'll go over those as we go. But let's start off, first of all, with our stats. So our stats are as follows. Boom. We are on 38.2k Magicka. Now, note that that Magicka pool is without Mage Light. If you had Mage Light, you'd be somewhere around 41 to 42k if you prefer. I just don't think that's worth a slot. There are more valuable skills right now in the game. Our health pool outside of combat is 27k. If we go in a fight, we are moving up even higher. We're moving up to about 32k health. Now that sounds out of tune. Some of you may decide, because we've also got 20.5k stamina, to drop some triglyphs to get that Magicka up. That's up to you. I would advise against it. You don't really need any more damage in this build. You've got it there. It's all you're going to need with the penetration that we do offer. But you are going to regret not running high health. And to be honest, I believe you're going to regret not running heavy in this patch. We are in heavy as a Magicka. Stamina is hitting ridiculously hard because all of these strong sets, 7th, Truth, Fury, all of these heavy armor overtuned sets, you can transmute to robust on the jewelry, so the damage incoming is super high, and there's the light attack damage buff, which makes it even crazier. So you really need to be built tanky as hell in this patch, in my opinion, for a DK. You haven't got that kite ability. You need to be able to stand your ground very reliably, and this is the way to go. Spell damage, nothing crazy, nothing out of reach. We are just 2k there. One of the other setups we get could get up to 2.2k reliably, maybe even 2.4k unbuffed. But, I mean, it's more than enough. With that Magicka pool and that spell damage, I'm able to kill people with the monster sets that we choose. If you change the monster sets, you'd obviously be able to get even more stats there. Up to you on that front. Where it gets crazy is our crit resist is sitting on 4k nearly. 3891 crit resist with our CP setup as it is. Our recoveries look absolutely awful. Don't worry about it. Our setup is sustaining us. It's not about our base recoveries. It's about using our skills and our armor structure. So that is going to sustain us. And to be honest, I may even have too much sustain right now, believe that or not. So I'll go over that in a sec. Mundus is the mage. Food, obviously, tri-stat. If you are somehow struggling by God knows how for Magicka sustain, then you can always run Clockwork City Food. You've got enough stamina to do so, but I wouldn't advise doing it. You really should be able to sustain in this setup as it is. So let's move on to our sets. Now our sets, bread and butter, 2-piece Falcon Scoria. I will always use this. In my opinion, it gives burst to a class that does not have burst. This is how you're going to get kills on a Magicka more often than not. You don't have burst on the class reliably. When you hear that Scoria go, that's when you want to be using an ulti, or if you have a banner, for instance, or bats or something like that, it just adds that bit of pressure that you otherwise do not get on a DK in burst. They're triglyphed. In fact, all of our armor is triglyphed and all of our armor is sturdy. Why? Bam. We're using impregnable. So we're back to one of my favorites, making us very, very beefy. We're using 5 impregnables spread across our body, our legs, our boots, and then our gloves in heavy. If you wanted, you could also run that in light for 5-2 rather than 6-1, or medium for more stats, which I don't think is quite worth it, but I might try. Who knows? Up to you on that front. And then that's also going to be on our jewelry. And then we're running with my bread and butter favourite, 5 blood forms. So this is giving us spell damage and Magicka on the front bar. But then on the back bar, we're using the ice staff to get the 4th and the 5th piece, which is going to give us the return on stamina Magicka. It works out about 270 magic recovery and stamina recovery whilst blocking, and that's absolutely key. You need the stamina recovery while blocking. This is definitely reliable enough to proc just from the Ice Staff bar. Your light attacks, direct damage, it's very easy to proc, so not a problem on that front. And open world, you'd have Ember's back bar anyway, so that's, again, another really good proc. Our jewelry traits then are as follows. Triglyph, Infused. Infused for the cost reduction. That is how we're going to sustain our Magicka pool in terms of cost. And then both of the others are spell damage. That is already enough cost reduction. We have Sustain from our Bloodthorn. We have Sustain from our Ellie Drain with Ice Staff. And we have Sustain through our reduction of cost. And we have Sustain through our Heavy. It's definitely enough Sustain. Front bar, finally, we're running 2 willpower. We're running a Nirnhone sword and an Impen shield. You could also run sturdy. You're just not going to need it there. I would suggest Impen. Why not? And then on the back bar is an infused Bloodthorn staff, just for that bit more Magicka sustain with the Magicka steel enchant. If you feel over sustaining, you could always change that for disease for even more major defile uptime, but that is up to you. Moving on to our skills then, we are using as follows. Now note these bars will change heavily between your environments. I'm going to discuss both of them. Our skills start as follows. Burning Embers on the front bar. Lash for our base damage. Cauterize for the big boy heal. And with heavy, major mending, etc. this heals like crazy. It really does. And then Fragmented Shield for major mending to get those heals up. This is really, really good now. This morph is 5.4 seconds of major mending. It's crazy strong. And yeah, the heal that you're going to get because of that is amazing. If you keep that up in League with Cauterize, you're not going to need Dragon Blood. You will not need that at all, especially when I explain my open world setup. We're then going to use Structured Entropy. That's our major sorcery. And we're also going to use Leap. Even though the Empower kind of sucks now, this is still going to be better than the Urban Weapons thing, Molten Weapons, or whatever it's called, from the DK for spells. It just costs so much. This is way cheaper, and it's nicer in my opinion. But you could also run the other morph if you so wished. That's this one here, Molten Weapons. And if you choose to run Molten Weapons, you're going to want the one that is going to increase your weapon damage, I guess, for your group. Because, frankly, increasing your heavy attack damage is going to do nothing, because your heavy attack is going to hit shit all, basically. So you can slot that there. I just would advise against it. 3.9k Magicka, 1k for twice the uptime. Well, who cares? Leap is our ultimate bread and butter, in my opinion. Some of you guys might like Meteor. I would advise to go for Leap, but that's up to you in the end. I think the Leap is just that bit more reliable. It hits just as hard, and it's way more spammable. But hey, some people like Meteor. I can understand why, so feel free to go for that as well. Back bar then, we're running Engulfing Flames. It's going to give us another dot for our Scoria. It's also going to give us 10% more fire damage, and it's going to give us that large dot. Fossilize, I still don't like Shattering Rocks. I think that route is key, especially with Banner as our back bar ulti. I think it's got to be Fossilized here. I didn't like the Obsidian Shard. One of these heals really hard, but the problem is if it's dodged, then it sucks. And I'm just going to tell you right now that Stamina is going to be incredibly rife next patch. I would not be surprised if about 95+% of Cyrodiil is stamina, because some of these sets are really, really powerful. Elemental Drain, bread and butter. So if you don't understand why I'm using the Ice Staff, quick explanation. Ice Staff is going to open Ellie Drain, which is going to give us 5.3k penetration and 600 Magicka regen, 300 per second. Regen is every 2. It's a very, very good skill. Brilliant skill. And by using an Ice Staff, without the Trifocus passive, we then have the chance to block from our stamina pool, but at the same cost as it would be for a one-hand shield through the Ancient Knowledge passive. Reduce your block cost by 36%. So it's a really, really strong way of sustaining and upping your damage in heavy or even in light. It's a very, very powerful way to play. I will not play another Magicka without Ice Staff, I imagine. It's really, really good. Next, we're using Wings. Now, this is currently on the PTS. It removes all snares. I can't truly tell you which morph of this is going to be best open world at this point in time. I don't know whether open world your snare is just going to be reapplied on you. At the moment, there's no cooldown after that. I would like to see a cooldown implemented, even if it was just like 2 or 3 seconds. We'll see if that happens. Who knows? But like for the time being, I've slotted that. If open world you find you're instantly getting re-snared, just use the other morph. I would still advise Wings. Certain classes, Blade in particular, with like root spam from Cripple and all, it can be pretty important. Even against Sork, it can give you so much more of an upper hand. And yeah, I think it's a great skill to run. But hey, each to their own. You could drop that if you so wished. Volatile armor is going to give us our resistance buff, another dot for Scoria, as you need, and of course that large damage return from direct damage. And then finally, Banner with the large Defile on there is going to really help close down some groups, heavy healing and stamina targets, and especially Magplars. Now, disclaimer, some of you guys may not like this open world, because open world, I think, but again, I can't tell, this is on the PTS, that I am likely to run Deep Breath. Now, if I run Deep Breath, you're still going to be fine for damage. What I will then do is I will move this to the back bar, Embers, and I'll drop Engulfing Flames completely. I still don't think you're going to need Dragon Blood. In the end, in single target, you're really going to be fine for healing with just your Whip, Cauterized, and Fragmented, and your Embers. And then against groups, Deep Breath is cheaper, and it's a larger heal than Dragon Blood. If you want Dragon Blood, your best skill to drop is going to be Wings. I would not drop the others. I really think that Fragmented Shield is brilliant. It's up to you. You could potentially drop that, but I think you would regret that. I think Fragmented with Cauterize is a way more reliable healing source, and Cauterize in general is just a phenomenal skill. It's given us that crit. It's given us huge heal over time, and it just takes so much pressure off you. I guess also open world Embers is potentially droppable if you so wished. It is going to lower your kill potential quite a lot, but say you wanted to run something like Talons or whatever. Again, the two skills that are most droppable open world are going to be your Embers and your Wings, I would say. Last but not least, let's move on to... Actually, before I do that, one thing to discuss, by the way. If you are struggling for sustain, the first thing I would do is as follows. We're going to change the build up a little bit at that point. And what you're going to do is you're going to run with 6 Black Rose... Sorry, well, 6 heavy, 1 light with Black Rose instead of Impregnable. Now, the reason that I would go for Black Rose is, as I mentioned before, in this patch, you are going to want to be tanky on a DK. I'm telling you that. Whether you believe me, it's up for you. You'll soon realize on the live server, you are going to want to be tanky on the open world server. Things hit hard in this patch. So, Black Rose is going to give us that stamina sustain that Impreg would in a different way. So, Impreg is going to allow us to run all sturdy, which will reduce our block cost by 100. We'll go from 713 to 613, compared with running with 4 sturdy and the rest impen. However, obviously with Impreg we're going to get all that tankiness, and it's going to be a little cheaper. So 613 against 713. Block cost is calculated every 0.25 seconds. If you're running with that, it works out to about 800 blocked stamina regen, assuming you're proccing on cooldown, which against Surge you always will. That's a huge stamina save. Black Rose is not quite as much. Black Rose is 300 stamina and magic recovery, give or take, with 6 pieces of heavy. You wouldn't want to run that 7th. I still think the 1 light is worth it because it's still nice. You could run it if you so wish, but I wouldn't advise it. You are, however, going to lose all that crit resist, but it is also going to give you spell damage. So it's also definitely viable to run with Black Rose instead of Impreg here. It's down to your preference, and you could run either 6 or 7 heavy, depending on your preference. I would advise 6. It's going to be slightly more damage, it's going to be a bit squishier, and it's going to be a bit less stamina sustain, but it's going to be a fair bit more Magicka sustain. So that is your other backup option, and you may see me playing that sometimes in the live server if I feel that cost poisons are too much of a detriment to the playstyle. Anyway, that's enough about that stuff. So let's move finally onto our CP. The CP is as follows. So we're running with 56 in Warlord. This is for our break free. 3 into Sprinter. These are basically a point dump. You've got 3 points. They don't scale anywhere else reliably. So why not put them here? It's given you that bit of time to move around on line of sight. There are certain times you'll do it. Sprinting is expensive, so it's not a waste of points in the end. There's nowhere else they can go scaling. 14 in Bashing. This is really key, so people are probably wondering why you're doing that. You're not going to interrupt that often. It's not actually about interrupting. When I'm offensive in a high stamina sustained Magicka build, what I will do is every time I'm bursting, I will also bash weave into that. And that bash, that's a fair bit of damage. It's going to weigh up a lot into your weave, and you're not dipping your block to do so. So reducing that cost is going to save you a lot of stamina in the long run, and that in turn will add to your burst damage. 27 in Arcanist, it's really not worth putting more in here. Your base recovery is pretty low. Don't go crazy there. And then most of our points are going here. 73 in Shadow Ward to reduce that block as much as possible. You do not want to drop your block in open world. You're going to get shredded. It's hitting hard. 44 into Tumbling. Misform is a joke. Make it so you can dodge instead, just in case you are struggling. I like these points. Sometimes dodge is your way to get out. If you're taking so much pressure in block that you can't survive, often your best solution is put a heal over time or a burst heal and dodge at the same time, and that is going to keep you alive. They don't really go well anywhere else, and I think the tumbling is a great tree. And then last but not least is Befoul. So we are running a fair bit in here, 30.36%. This is going to give us a 39% debuff. You may find, again, when I hit the live server, that if Dragon Wings works effectively, that I will drop a fair few out of tumbling, and I'll also move some of these sprinter and bash points into Befoul to go up even higher on that heal debuff to something like 43%, but we shall see. Again, I'll only know that on the live server. At the moment, I would advise 33. That's 39% on the nose. Any more, any less would be a waste at that point. But I might make an updated video when this hits the live server, because that's when I'll be able to test stuff in a bit more detail. Blue tree then, a nice wide spread here. 27 in Blessed for our healing. Really important, of course. A lot of people like to not put it with the blue tree. Yeah, I'm going to advise against that. I think that the healing is really, really nice to have in there. It doesn't scale brilliantly, but it doesn't scale badly, and it's going to add up a lot. At the moment, with the amount of hots we run, our healing is crazy, so it really is going to help keep you alive. 56 in Elfborn for our crit damage and crit heals. We're only 32% crit, nothing crazy, nothing out of reach, but this is still going to add to your burst, and the crits are going to be pretty key to getting your kill. More importantly, it's going to give you your crits on your heals, and that's where it's really doing its best. 49 Elemental Expert, we're building that flat damage a bit more rather than stacking heavily into Elfborn at this point to like 66. You want to build Elemental Expert up in heavy because that's going to work better. And of course, in turn, we're going to also balance that penetration up nice and high with 49 points there, 3.9k more pen. 56 in direct damage. Again, this is the best scaling point for that. And then finally, 13 points in Thaumaturge just for a bit of extra damage to your dots. If you choose to run with the Flame Breath, you may also up that to about 20, taking some points out of Spell Erosion. But again, up to you on that front. These points are min-maxed, so if you choose to change them, that's your choice. I'm just telling you that you will lose damage no matter what you do, unless you're taking points out of Blessed and putting it in one of these other trees, which I would advise against open world. Red tree, we then have 56 Ironclad to reduce our direct damage taken and 44 resistant. Adjust that as you like. Make sure you're hitting resilient passive. It's too good to miss. Again, we're really high crit resist, but that doesn't mean don't take them out. It's pretty nice CP tree. And in the end, you could move them here. That's going to come down to your preference. I might in the future, who knows, but it's difficult to say. I don't really have problems with damage. Again, only open world I'd be able to know that. 37 Hardy to reduce that physical damage taken, really, really key, and 32 Element Defender, 44 Thick Skinned. Dots are more important than anything else. That's what's going to go through your block, so that's where the large percentage of points are going to go. But of course, those dots are probably going to be physical or spell damage, so we'll mix them up. And last but not least, 37 Quick Recovery, just to amplify that healing anymore. Any more points, not really going to work too hard in there, but that is going to put you on the nose, I think. I'm not a vampire. You could be a vamp if you so wish. For bats, you're obviously not going to gain anything in terms of recovery, but if you want bats, you can get it. That's going to come up to you. Undeath will be pretty strong in this build, I think. And again, even I have considered trying it. But once more, I can only see that on the live server, whether Undeath is going to be worth it. The reason Undeath might be worth it is, in the past, I've not really liked Vamp because of the fire damage and Dawnbreaker damage. This takes so little damage from any source and has so much, basically 100% perma block against anything. Even jabs, even flurry, which is cooldown of a Zerg. So essentially, you've probably got infinite block stamina here. It might be good at that point to take Undeath to protect yourself at low health to get that heal off. But I think that's more if I choose to run Dragon Blood. And again, we'll see that on the live server. So for the time being, that is my Magicka build. I hope that was useful. Next build is potentially going to be the Mage Sorg, I would imagine. But we'll see. It could be the Templar, it could be the Warden. I don't know yet. See you guys in the next video. I hope you've seen that. Again, if you haven't seen the community video that I released recently, jump on the channel, check that out, get some clips submitted. Things are going great there. But for the time being, guys, enjoy the build. I'll see you again.